Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Woo! That was a bit loud, there we go. And Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a lovely Christmas with lots of lovely gifts, lots of lovely time with the family. And just before we go off, well, we as in I, the sad and lonely git that I am, before I go off for my Christmas break with my family, I thought I'd round things off with a year in review for World of Tanks. Huzzah! So, how this will entail, like in War Thunder, I kind of made a video about my sort of progress throughout the year, and what I'm going to be doing this year is kind of the same thing, except I'm going to be adding a little new thing to it, same to what I did in War Thunder, which is basically the pros of what the company Wargaming have done, and the cons of what Wargaming have done. So basically, what Wargaming did this year that was good, or in my opinion was good, and the same goes for what I think, in my opinion, was bad. Now, Wargaming, I'll tell you in advance, has done a fair amount of good things this year, so thumbs up. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's a long list. Joking. But it's a list, and I'll go through some of my personal favourites. And the same goes for bad things they've done this year. Bad Wargaming. But then, of course, the next bit that'll happen is we'll talk about what progress I have exactly made since making the last video, and then talking about what I plan to do throughout next year. So anyhow, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the perks or pros of this year. And I've written down a little list. Shockingly, I'm organised. But I think this year I'm going to kind of rate it down in priority. So, like, for example, I think the patches, I would say, obviously they are the things that give most of the content, but I'd say priority-wise in patches, I would say the best patch so far, and it hasn't even been released yet, is patch 9.5. I think 9.5 is the best patch simply because Firefly, the tier 6 British medium tank with the 17-pounder, is going to be probably the best thing that's happened to Wargaming and this game this year. It's just, I'm so excited for it, and I just cannot wait. I mean, it's a Firefly! I'm sorry, anyone out there who doesn't know what a Firefly is, or doesn't care about a Firefly, is stupid. It's the best tank of World War II, in my opinion. It's just, so much fun. Anyhow, so yes, the Firefly, along with obviously along with the new British line of not heavies, TDs. Yeah, he couldn't believe it. I wonder how long I'll get away with that. Probably never. Anyway, so like I was saying, along with the new tank destroyers, which is very interesting. For example, the reversing Archer with its 17-pounder gun. I think this year will be very nice. I think that patch will be very nice. I don't know how best the later tier games are going to be like, but I know that the lower tiers are going to be quite interesting now that there's a Firefly, because that thing could do a lot of damage and be really, really awesome. So imagine a couple of those in a game. Death would be amongst them. Anyway, so yeah, that's quite an awesome patch. Anyway, going on to the next one. I would say the next patch in sense of priority would either be patch 9.3. I think it was 9.3. I could be completely wrong, talking out my arse. No, it was 9.2. 9.2, I believe, was because that was the one in which the Leopard line got a buff. Now, mainly this applies because I went from really liking the Leopard, the Indian Panzer, to freaking adoring the Indian Panzer because of its rate of fire. And it also improved the reload of the Leopard PTA. It also improved the reload of this beautiful thing here. It also improved the reload, or rate of fire, I should say, of the Leopard 1 tank as well. That's really cool. Obviously, there is a downside to that patch. It did nerf the reload of the Borsig, but in my opinion, I kind of think it was a necessary nerf. I think the Borsig is way more balanced now, and as such, makes it not such a, oh yeah, there's the one tank that you're only going to see at tier 8. I think it gives other players a chance to diversify their choice of tank destroyers. And besides, Borsigs are really fun, even with the nerfed reload. I still love mine. I love my Borsig. I don't even know if I've done a review on it. Oh, I need to get onto that. Anyway, going on down the list, the third patch I would say that I would say is pretty darn good, and it's only because of the tanks in this one, is the one, I think it was patch 9.3, which introduced the new tier, the new scout tanks. More specifically, they're the tier 8 scouts. Obviously, the two RU251, that's a pretty damn good tank. Then, of course, you've got the seemingly ridiculous T-54 lightweight tank, which is absolutely hilarious because of its ridiculously amount of good armor. And then finally, you've got probably one of the most popular tier 8 scouts, I would say, today, in the sense of just sheer fun, I reckon, is the T-49. With its 152mm gun, I think it just trolls the field. I feel sorry for people who get shot by it, but at the same time, it's like, I imagine that must be so much fun. Like, when I was playing on the test server, it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. So that's definitely a good one. Let's see what else is good in the line. Well, actually, do you know what I'm going to talk about? The next thing I would say, which is pretty darn good, actually two things. I think it was patch 9.1 or 2, or possibly even patch 9.3, about the two features which I really liked. First of which is the skirmishes mode, or the stronghold system. Because what that's done is not only created a stronger, better community within the Priests of Wallalor, the group that I'm with, but it also means that we can actually, it means that people can actually earn quite a fair amount of bonuses from working with a relatively successful clan, and I think that's quite an awesome thing to have in stuff like that. I think that's a really awesome thing to have. And plus, also, the best thing is when you've got to do it is when you've got on, like when we go on to either team battles or skirmishes, the clan leader can activate the bonus, which allows us extra money. So it's a really awesome idea, and I think it's probably up there in the sense of really damn good things that Wargaming have done. Like, it's like, what? It's actually good and some? But yeah, like I said, there's no real I suppose I shouldn't really say there's a priority, but it's more things that I really like that Wargaming have done. So that's pretty awesome. Also, the punishment system. I think now that in recent times, since they've buffed the privacy system, the punishment system, where basically people get caught out a lot more if they're being stupid or being really, really, arseholy and team killing. I really like how that's picked up as of late. Like, beforehand, people used to, artillery was the go-to tactic for most scumbags out there was to be a suicidal. Literally, it's like, oh, my teams have lost, I'm going to jump ship and either he kills himself or he leaves the game before the game is over. And they've really stepped up to that. Wargaming have certainly stepped to that. So they get my thumbs up for that one, definitely. Because it's like, you don't need to be a dick. Like, okay, Wargaming's community of players, going to be honest with you guys, there are some really shit teams out there. And I am not going to be the first one. I'm not going to be the first one to say it otherwise. Yeah, there are days I hate playing World of Tanks because of that. But then again, also, you get those people who really screw you over, either by killing themselves and denying your opponents the kill. It's like, oh, come on, you coward. Just grow a pair of balls and accept the fact that, yeah, your team lost. You don't need to be a dick and, like, remove yourself from play before, the enemy team can have the reward that they have for succeeding in battle. It'd be like, for example, Hitler not Hitler, but, the German army, when the Allies started to break through in Normandy, it would be like the German forces all just killing themselves before the Allies got there. I know it's kind of a really stupid thing to say, but you get my meaning. It's like the whole point of the team getting to conquer the other side is that the other side is going to lose. You can't have a game in which everyone wins. So surely, as much as it's horrible to taste defeat, it's like, okay, my team sucked. I sucked in that game. Anyway, I'm rambling, so I like the punishment system. It's really good, and I think it's definitely made World of Tanks a much better place to play since their introduction. And finally, I think I would say the best thing that's happened in Wargaming is the maps changes. Like, because of how, and also with map introduction, maps in general, I think the introduction of the maps that were introduced, Windstorm was late last year? No, I think it was early this year. Windstorm was a good map, but I think the real top ones have to be Kharkov and Stalingrad. Kharkov a little bit more, because whenever I play on that map, it's a really fun map to play on. It's extremely balanced. You've got perfect, you've got flanking avenues for medium tanks and light tanks. You've also got really good areas for heavy tanks. And finally, artillery. Even artillery can have a decent game in there as well. So I think it's an extremely well-balanced map. And then Stalingrad as well. Kind of the same deal. Though, unfortunately, I don't think no one really knows how to play that map yet. Hell, I don't know how to play it. I kind of go with my mates on this one, but I think too many people go to the 1-2 line. And not enough people are spreading out enough. I think if more people went near the 9-0 line, which is not a bad area, there's certainly good elements towards the 9-0, but it's just there's probably just needs to be that one person who can say, it's actually a good idea, which is pretty good. As for the other parts of the map, I'd say map changes. For example, in particular, Redshire, the changes to that were pretty damn good. I wasn't too fussed about Redshire. Like, Redshire, I think, now works really well. But I was never there were occasions I thought, oh, Christ, they just camp up there all the time. But I would say Redshire still has elements of campiness in it, but at least it's not as strong as it used to be. But the biggest changes, I would say, that are really beneficial have to be El Haluf and Comrin. Comrin more so, Comrin still isn't really on my up-yay list, because it sucks arse at times, I'll be honest with you. It still does suck quite badly. But it's not as bad as it used to be. I think whenever that map came on beforehand, I never used to enjoy it. I thought, great, I've got a wasted game here. Unless my team were made out of, elite players, the game would take the nearly 15 minutes to complete. It would be a waste of a game, and I really am happy that they've changed it. It still kind of is, because there are still points in which I think they could change it. I think removing some of the trees from the south spawn so that they can't camp in that bottom right corner of the map, making it so that way maybe the pace might be a little faster, or hell, I would also say Comrin is a map which we could replace. I think Port, maybe redesign Port now that you can shoot through walls, but I think Port would be still a good map to put in, but we'll go to that on that in a second. Anyway, but yeah, the other map I'd say is El Haluf. El Haluf at first I used to hate, once again, but this time I really like El Haluf, simply because they removed that really stupid section of hill and made everything flat. So that way now, whenever you go up to that section, instead of having to spend half an hour, seemingly, waiting for your opponent to make a mistake, or for your team to slowly get killed on the other side, you can now actually advance into that line and have a really good game. I think that is by far the best thing that they've done for the maps this year. So yeah, I think that's all the pros of this year. So now on to the cons. Okay, so that's all the pros of this year. Now let's go to the cons. Now, before I go on, if there's anything I've missed or anything that perhaps you think would be a better choice for a pro or a con, or anything like that, or if you found something that was particularly great that you think, yes, this game is so much better now because of this, or, oh, for God's sake, Wargaming, why have you ruined this game for me? Anything like that, feel free to put in the comments section down below. Now, I would say for this year, Wargaming have done pretty okay when it comes to bad things, in the sense that they've not done so many that it's driven me away. But there have been a few. I'm afraid a fair amount of them is kind of bug-related. It just, for example, the bugs with 9.0. I think the biggest issue was perhaps the bugs, I reckon. Pardon me. Yeah, I think mainly it's to do with the bug. I mean, I don't know, when 9.0 came out, there was a lot of problems. Like, thankfully this happened more out of recording, but there were occasions where I couldn't play the game for love and want of money. Like, I'd play it, get onto it, and think, oh, god damn it, I can't even load into the game without crashing it, or I had occasions where the game would, lag me out, even though I was in the middle of a game. Lag spikes, that was pretty terrible. 9.0 was, I wouldn't say it was a best patch for Wargaming. It was the fabled 9.0, but unfortunately 9.01 was the one that actually was the one that we were looking for. But unfortunately it took them a few weeks to sort that out. Yeah, well done. Not the best call, Wargaming. I think the other bad thing that was pretty not so great was the missions. I think the missions still are semi-good to okay. I mean, missions... when the missions feature was added into World of Tanks, it started out on an amazing high. I think it was. I can't quite remember. It was either do. It was either get a certain amount of experience, or it was win a number of games and not suck. No, I think it was get a certain amount of. No, it was damage. It was get a certain amount of damage, and you got 500,000 credits, and you got this. I think once a day, or was it? I can think, or that, or you got it multiple times. I'm not too sure. But either way, basically it was play World of Tanks and not suck. And quite simply, it was that case. You just had to play World of Tanks and get damage. So what do? You play tactically. At least that was the thought process. But knowing World of Tanks, no. No, I think a fair amount. I think the first mission was very awesome because I got loads of money out of that. I got 500,000 credits because I was, I guess, an average player, and I thought, this would be great. But then they kind of threw it out and did really stupid things, like make them even easier. Because apparently there were people were complaining it was getting hard, and I kind of looked. I know it's. I don't honest. I think it's not. I'm not going to have a go at all of you guys because let's face it, there are all those occasions where it's like some people either can't do it because their computer isn't good enough, or their internet isn't great, or whatever reason you are not perhaps as good as you'd like to be, even though you are physically capable of being able to do it or whatever. I will say though, if young people, like kids, I don't think should be playing this game, but that's just my own personal opinion, which we'll go into at another time at another place. So, with regards to, missions, they went from really good to rather shite. Not just because of what they offered you, it was more what this would encourage. Because unfortunately, when missions became so easy that anyone can do them, or at least became like some of the objectives you could get or rewards you'd get. For example, get 50,000 damage and maybe be in, and in those games you've got to become 10 or 5 or above, and the game would give you money or an equipment or premium days. Or worse is when they offer a premium tank. That's when everyone just sort of becomes really stupid and games become really annoying. Like, for example, recently, with the amount of missions that were going out, though that said, it's kind of being more towards just the players in general at times. There are points, though, where, because of an event or a certain thing, the player capability, like, people who, games that you get into go from good to shockingly bad. Like, the teams you get are so dumb, or the teams you play alongside against, they're just so ridiculously bad. You think, how did you play through the beginnings of this game? And, myself and a few friends of mine have all, it's really hard not to find yourself cursing every second of a game because of how bad your team was, or because of how bad the team you had, last battle. And that's just, it's unfortunate that missions do that, but they do. Wargaming has done bad on that one in my eye. I think the only other two major cons for this year that really kind of blowed down was confrontation and historical battles. I think those two are the biggest problems. I think confrontation was more of something which happened, but it really didn't work. Like, the concept itself was quite nice, but how it played out, not so. Like, I think what makes World of Tanks really good is the fact that every nation is in a battle. Virtually every nation is in a battle. I don't think I think I've had a couple occasions where it actually was the case, but every nation is in a battle. So as such, what happens is you get into a game and you find yourself being able to, have a very, a balanced and varied team. Whereas Confrontations pretty much took that out, because then you were solely relying on the player's skill or the nation's skill. I mean, it's not like it was a bad idea, but I don't think it was very well thought out for the sense of balancing, because there were going to be games where if you were in an SU-152, I can actually tell you this now, I was in an SU-152. In fact, I think this is when I was grinding the 152, and I had an occasion where I saw nothing but Hellcats. Like, I couldn't believe my luck. I just went all high pitched and like, And the game itself was shit, because my team couldn't actually do anything worth a crap, but I one-shotted over 4 tanks. And I just went, oh yeah, I don't care that we lost, I got 4 kills and a 1, like, stupid. But then of course I got thinking, oh god, how horrible that must be to be in a tier 6 tank, not realising your confrontation is on, because some people don't even pay attention to the game news, and realising that you're facing nothing but shit that can one-shot you. And there's loads of you. I don't think confrontation was thought of very well at all. Though I would say I think really when it kind of went in and then it was phased out because it was like, nope. I think I turned it off after like about a week's worth of trying it. And I don't think I regretted that decision at all. I think the biggest problem though for me personally, and this is just as I said, it's a personal thing, is the historical feature. Like, at first it was a great idea, and I think it still kind of is, but the problem is it got corrupted. I mean, historical battles came out around the same time as War Thunder's Ground Forces had been released. And what this, I think, was either like a challenge or a sort of response to what Wargaming's response to what Gaijin's plan was. And at first it was great, but unfortunately, because I don't think it was very popular, people just went on it for the wrong reasons. Quite simply because they could get, in some cases, there were people in Königstigers completely decimating enemy tanks simply because of the matchmaking that was applied to that kind of environment. And it's like, as much as I can bitch and moan and complain and say, oh, it's... I don't know. I don't think it was... The theory was there, but once again, like the confrontation, the practicality was kind of failed. And and they made recoveries, and it certainly was there. But I think, as a historical standpoint, it's like, no, unfortunately, with this game, no one really much cares for the history, which is sad. I mean, I imagine some people, some of you guys may be caring about it, and if so, hoorah. But then again, if you don't care about it, it's not a problem. It's just... It does make me a bit sad that some things like this is sort of like, yeah, these are things that actually happened. The whole reason why probably this game occurred is because of those events, and you don't really give a crap because it's a video game. Which is understandable, and as I said, it's nothing wrong with that, but it's a bit like, wasted potential. But as for cons, it's been pretty good this year. I mean, there've been numerous bad things, but to be honest with you, none of them have really been Wargaming's fault. I mean, I think the missions is pretty much the worst, simply because of what the player base has done to them, which is sort of a bad thing, and sort of Wargaming has no choice but to accept blame for that. I mean, possibly nerfs to certain tanks, like, I suppose there is that thing recently happening with the E25 being withdrawn from sales, but I think Wargaming's hands were tied on that one. It's either remove the tank or remove people from playing the game because they want their refund back, and I just think probably the choice they made was okay, but I guess that'll be a debate for another time, or at least a debate which won't take forever to do. Okay, so now that we've talked about the pros and cons of what's happened throughout this year, let's talk about what I've done since making the last, progress video. And we'll save Germany for last as usual. So, no. Right, for the Chinese, we've done nothing! Yay! Yeah, I elited the M5A1 Stuart, and I had the ability to buy the Type T34, and that's how it's been the entire duration of this year. Sorry. Yeah, no progress whatsoever on China. My apologies. But hey, it means it's quick. So nothing for China. Nothing for France. No, we have made progress. It's not like we haven't. The ELC, I've had a crap ton of games in, and I adore it. I call it the Mighty Turkey because of one particular game in which I trolled and made turkey sounds. So France has certainly done me proud, and I'm very happy to report the ELC is still just as good as ever. I have made some limited progress in the form of researching the FTAC and the D1, so that's something. I know it's not much, but it's something. So there you go. As for Britain, very little to know. I think this is like the nearest to no movement. Like, we're above France in this regard, simply because of the Comet and Centurion. Like, the Centurion itself was a big grind. Like, we went through the Comet tank, and I had the damn thing in my garage for so long, and I needed to do a review. So when I did the review, I got the Centurion 1 out of that, and I grinded through the Centurion 1, and I made progress. I went through the Centurion, and I researched the Centurion 7-1, so I now can buy it, and then I promptly sold the Centurion 1. So I can now buy the Centurion 7-1, and I can do it, and I have seen, I want to, it's been, the Centurion 1 has been good, I'm not going to lie, it's been a good tank, not as good as I'd hoped, but certainly good enough. As for that line, nothing really major, nothing really, I can't really report on anything different on this line, no, not really, no. Nothing really has happened here that really will be, no. Not really anything happened major. As for America, we've made some significant progress. Instead of just going on my M4A T1 Heavy, I have actually been able to grind out both the M4s, both choices, the M4A3E2 and the M4A3E8, basically Easy 8 and a Jumbo, so I have both unlocked those. I haven't driven this thing. I haven't driven that at all, my apologies for those of you who love Jumbos. But I have gone through the T1 Heavy to the M6 and gotten myself a T29, though admittedly I wasn't too fussed about it, though I possibly may do something. I'm not going to say what, but something. We'll say it in a minute anyway. But anyway, so that's them. For progress, Soviet Union. Yes, a certain someone kept boosting me on. Know who you are, mate. And I have now gained, I think the highest I've gone is unlocking the ability to get the IS-8, and slowly but very, very slowly, surely, I am also grinding up the ISU-152, having amazing games, regardless of whether we win or lose, simply because of that gun. It's so good. The moment they nerf this thing, I will research through it and sell it, because it will be worth nothing to me. No, we've gone through the Russian tech tree, and it has been I think out of all the grinds, that's been the most entertaining, simply because, ha 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 ha, boom! It's been a nice grind. I just love the SU-152 is so nice. But anyway, other news, I did get myself a KV-2, so that is something. I mean, it's not as great as the SU-152, but, it's still funny. It's funny as hell when you're in a tier 4, you've got tier 4s and you're the top tier tank. You're like, hey, you're clapping along like, I could do something here. And then you promptly lose by your team, but anyway. The Japanese, not really done anything at all. Like, I got the Chinu, and then I had a few games in it, didn't really think much about it, and sold it for getting the Ferdinand. So it went for a good cause. So you can't kill me. I hope. But no, Japanese, not really done anything major with them. Nothing at all, really. Unfortunately, little to no progress, I'm afraid. Anyhow, wrong thing I pressed. Anyhow, the last, but certainly not least, and the most progress I've made is, shocker, Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles. Yes, we have made the most progress because the Tier 10 tanks! Yes, Tier 10 tanks! We finally got ourselves a Tier 10 E100. It was after, I was about coming up to my birthday, and it was at that point where I said, sod it, I don't care what anyone says, I am getting an E100. And so I promptly spent the next few weeks constantly grinding out the cash in order to afford this amazing piece of machinery, and I am not regretting a single moment of that grind. Why? Because E100. It is my first Tier 10 tank. It is probably one of my favourite, nearly my favourite Tier 10 tank, and it's very, very enjoyable. I love it. It's such a fun tank. It's nothing. I don't really play it. I mean, I am serious in it, but I'm not super dead serious because most Tier 10 games are not as great as you think. But I will not deny, I did have some fun moments using my high explosive shells on lesser armoured vehicles. Like that RU-251. When I got him for nearly entirely his health. Oh yeah, that was satisfying. But yeah, so that's been, I would say, this thing has been amazing. And then, of course, after a while, we got ourselves a Jagdtiger, which is one of my favourite Tier 9 tank destroyers of all time in this game. And then, of course, we got ourselves a Jägeru. My second Tier 10 tank in a matter of weeks as well. I think for Germany, it's been a ridiculously quick... I've been going like blitzkrieg up Germany's lines just because of how amazing this thing is. And it is just... fantastic. Very much happy to be here. Then we got ourselves a Leopard PTA. After grinding out the Indian and finally doing a review on her, now I got the Leopard PTA, and it's lovely once more. I do love this thing. I've even got the Top Gun for this thing now, so I can actually be semi-decent. You know, I've yet to fully upgrade it, but still, it's still decent. Still very much happy with that, and very much happy that, you know, I'm just happy. I did really well. Germany's awesome at that time, and this is why. One-shotting a Waffenträger E100. I love you! Anyway, so yeah, that's the progress I made. Well, actually, no. I tell you what I actually got as well, because I even showed it to you without even saying. I got a Löwe! Woo! Yeah, I got a Löwe tank, because there was a deal on, and it had all the equipment I needed in said deal. I think it was an Advent deal as well. It was one of the Advent deals for the thing. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm buying a Löwe with all of its equipment and some gold. Poof. And so I now have a Löwe tank. Finally, and it's a damn good Löwe tank. I've even got... first few games I had in this thing, mastery. So, this thing with my E75 crew, which is why you can notice this thing isn't as occupied as it used to be. And if you are remembering the name, which is awesome, Gunther Schultz, yeah, you will note that these guys are from the E75, and it is an amazing tank because of it. So, there. Right, now that we've talked about what I've done, let's talk about what I'm going to do for the next... well, what I'm going to set myself as goals. I'm going to try and make it realistic, but at the same time kind of hopeful. Okay, so let's go back up to China, the nation I have done nothing on. Now, I might do something for China. I mean, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed, oh yeah, definitely going for something here, but I'm certainly going to try... it's certainly something I'm certainly thinking. I'm looking at them now. I'm thinking I could do something. I'm not saying by any means. I'm not saying that it's a great. Oh yes, I totally know what I'm going to do. Blah. But I will say the Chinese. I will say the Chinese are certainly got a decent amount of tanks. We have their IS-2. Where this thing. Yeah, it's the same stuff as it before. But I mean, I have to grind the D2. 5T, which is not something I'm looking forward to do, but or D25T. God, that looks terrible, doesn't it? That's not in comparison to that. I get yeah, that's pretty bad. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm thinking of going up this line. I'm not saying it's the best idea that I'm going up this line, but I may be doing something. I don't know what, but I might be doing something. It's completely out there. But still, I might do something with that. As for the Frenchies, I might do something with France. I have been considering it, but what I wanted to do was get up both the E100 and Jägeru lines, and as I've now done that, I suppose the French are kind of the most likely to be next. Primarily the heavy line, because obviously I've yet to see what the terrible B1 is going to be like. I've got to see how bad that is before. And also, I've got to look up this TD line as well, the Sal 40. Apparently, people tell me that this thing is really bad, but I don't know. That's quite a challenge, considering. But yeah, I think I would like to give France a go at some point. I definitely would like to try it. I think France would be something of a line that would be interesting, mainly because of possibly the AMX 50-100. So, but like maybe I don't think I will be going up the Chinese. It's sort of like a maybe. If I really fancy it, maybe France. Maybe more so than usual. But then, of course, but then again, also my grind. If I ever did go for China, of course. Yes, this is China. This is France. If I ever wanted to go for France, I probably would go up the heavy line and try and reach the AMX 50-100. I think at least the 50-100 by the end of next year, because that's a realistic goal, and then I can perhaps go on towards something else. But I think the tier 8 of that should be all right. For Britain, obviously, I'm going to go up the Centurion 7.1, and don't forget, 9.5 is going to come out, and I am going down that line. I am getting myself a Firefly, and I am getting myself up that other TD line, because I really like that TD line, and I honestly think the TD line there is it's just godly. I honestly think it'll be fantastic, and it'll also give me a reason to go up. You know, it's basically the second TD line. I think will make the game way more interesting with regards to, like, because beforehand I tried going for the 82 and I never enjoyed it. I did not enjoy the really slow tanks. It just reminded me of an E75 before they nerfed the engine of the E75s with the stock engine. It was not a pleasant experience. So I can tell you now that having a more mobile tank destroyer, however badly armoured, is way better in my eye than an armoured vehicle which can't even move across the base field without taking 5 hours. So I'm definitely going to go down that line and get myself more tanks for Britain. Maybe it might reinvigorate my interest in going down the heavy line, simply because some of the tanks you get the guns for, potentially you could be getting yourself the Top Gun. I don't know if that's the same. No, like you could be getting yourself a gun which one of these tanks may share as such. You know, the Centurion 7.1 as well. It might all work out. I don't know really, but generally speaking, that's the hope. Well, our plan at least. So there's a Britain for you. As for America, I'm not really sure as to whether I will go up some America. I've kind of gone up America as much as I want to, but maybe I might go down the America. If I ever did go for the American line, I think the T28 prototype is something I'd like to get. Yeah, up to the T28 prototype if I did go up that TD line. But then again, also, I might decide to go towards, shockingly, the T32. I might rebuy the T29 and go for the T32. If I should go for it, you know, possibly try and get the M103, though I doubt it'll be very easy to go through that, because you'll have to go through... yeah, that'll be the problem. That's the... Oh, God. 25,000, admittedly, which gives you a much better gun, but then there's that, 60,000. Great pen, very good pen, and a relatively decent rate of fire, but you gotta grind that first, and oh my, I am going to cry. Oh, I'd cry so hard at that thing. But anyhow, so yeah, I think it would take some time, but maybe it would work out. Yeah, I'd say T28 prototype if I wanted to go up this line. I'm not saying I'm definitely going for America, but something. The Soviet Union. I think the next tank I'll be getting myself is an IS-8 for the Russians. I think the IS-8 is certainly a damn good tank, and certainly is something I want to go for. It's different. I hear it's still kind of. I think it's armored wise, it's considered worse than the IS-3. But in the sense that its weak points are more exposed. But then again, also, it is considered to be it's still a damn good tank, and I think it will be a decent tank. I think it will be quite nice to drive. I'd like to get it. I think it's certainly something I'd like to try for. And then maybe if I'm shockingly stupid, I might try and go for the IS-7 as well, which looks like it has a very cheap system. So yeah, I think that will probably be very... I think going for an IS-7 would be a sort of a nice-ish goal, but I just probably want to grab and fully experience the IS-8 beforehand. But, you know, we will see. We will see. Shockingly, I'm actually relatively close to this as well. I might... Don't kill me, guys. I know I bitch about them a lot, but I might get myself an S51. Not because I'm going to become a proper scumbag, but because... mainly because it's a B4. I mean, I'll be honest with you, there are some tanks I think I would just derp around in. And I think artillery will be one of them. I don't think I'll be dedicating myself to any artillery play. But you know what? I don't think it would be fair for me to bitch about with them for so long and then not even bother finding out, well, is it actually any worth it. So, yeah, an S51 I might get in the future. But like I said, it might, definitely will. Might, definitely will. It's going to be a case of I probably won't, or considering I'll probably get something and it will possibly be there. And if I find I have a lot of fun with it, great, I can play artillery. But I'm not going to be I'm not going to be dedicating it. I don't know. I might be dedicating it, or I might not. But I don't think I will. But either way, it's a possibility. I will be possibly at some point playing some Scumbags. Shock. Anyhow, feels like I'm coming out with that thing. Never mind. So anyway, on to the Japanese. Probably not going to do anything with Japan. I think looking at it, the Chinese and the Japanese, I don't think I'll be doing much of. Same with France. I think there's still a few vehicles I've got to get before I dedicate myself to any of these things. I mean, I'm not, to be honest with you, too much of a medium fan. So if they introduced a heavy line, I probably would go in there with renewed interest. But then again, at the same time, I might give the Japanese a go again. It wasn't a bad tank grind. It wasn't a bad grind. I mean, hell, I nearly got everything sorted on that. Like, I nearly got all the top stuff. I nearly got the top gun. So maybe what I'll do is, I might get that, and I might just, I might get that, and I might, have a go again, see how things work. And if not, oh well. If so, well, that'll be fun. So, finally, Deutschland. What am I going to do? Well, the reason why I'm going to be putting off so many other things is as such. I'm currently grinding the Leopard PTA, and I'm obviously going to be getting myself a Leopard 1. That is the goal for that line. Leopard PTA, getting a Leopard 1, for sure. And I'm actually going back a few tiers, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try and get myself a Jagdpanther 2. And in order to get this thing, I need to grind an extra 29,000 experience in order to be able to utilize... In order to be able to get the Jagdpanther 2. Now, I am going to sell the Jagdpanther. It's a good tier 7 tank destroyer, and certainly has been a great servant of what I need to do. So it's not like this thing is bad, and I'm very much happy to say that this thing is a very good tank destroyer, and I'm very happy to have had it in my arsenal, because it has just been such a blast. But then again, I don't really play it as well, and it is going to be worth a fair amount of dosh. And if I ever really cannot stand playing without it, I will rebuy it. But I will definitely put the proceeds of that in towards getting the Jagdpanther 2, which will hopefully then be potentially better than my experience of the Ferdinand. Like, I like the Ferdinand, it's a fantastic machine, but personally, I don't think that tank was 100% for me. I mean, I had amazing games in it. I got my mastery. So it's not like I didn't suit the tank. But I think I'd like to see what the Jagdpanther 2 would be. And then also because then it completes that lineup. I may go up the E59. Maybe. I primarily just want to get the Leopard 1 first, but the E50 might be there. It's a very long grind, considering I've got to go through the DW2, then the VK3001H, then the VK Panther again, Panther 2 again, then I might end up getting some decent games with the E50, which looks like it gets a very nice tier 9 gun, which for a medium tank, that's pretty darn good. And then finally you get the E50M, which gets that, which is even better than it was before. So, I don't know. I might go for that, I might not. I don't think I will, but I think it will be a thought. Definitely a thought to what's getting. But primarily, it is getting the Jagdpanther 2 and the Leopard 1, Jagdpanther 2, and then afterwards, possibly, I mean, I'm not too sure about the Waffenträger Panzer Alf 4, but I think I'm getting close to finishing off what I 100% want out of this, and perhaps we'll start going more towards Britain, or maybe I might go towards France, or even Neparuski. Probably the most likely scenario is that I'll probably get this finished, that as well. Get that sorted and grinded, and then probably move down towards Britain, whereupon I'll have perhaps bought this vehicle. So I've got myself another tier 9 tank destroyer, a tank to drive. Then of course we've got the other lines as well, once the patch 9.5 comes out, so I can instantly start grinding that. And then maybe going down the lines, we go for higher tier stuff primarily, and then maybe once I have grinded my fill and gotten myself a Firefly and stuff, I might go down France. I think France is definitely a line I'm possibly suited for, but don't forget I've still got IS-8 as well. Anyway, that's been a rather long video, so my apologies if you kind of got a bit bored and some things, or you weren't expecting it to be that long. Neither was I. But anyhow, thank you very much for sticking with me for this video, and I just want to say Merry Christmas to you all. I once again hope you have a lovely Christmas with your family. I hope you get lovely presents, and Happy New Year in advance, because I won't be here, or I won't be back until the new year has started. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of content, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a World of Tanks player, a YouTuber, or a World of Tanks player who does YouTube, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. And any kind of hints and tips to make the next video even better than it was than the next one. Anyway, that's it guys, I'm gone for the Christmas. Have a lovely time. I will see you guys back on the 2nd of January when I'll release stuff again. Have a good one guys, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.